Today I'm going to go through what you may want to know about different restrictions for your appointments within your Accudemia account. I'm going to be discussing some of the different types of restrictions that are available for students, tutors, or advisors. Also, some of the pros and cons of specific restrictions and how to avoid a no-show for a student, for example, if they don't make it to an appointment, even though you can set up that restriction within Accudemia. So let's see, I'm gonna go ahead and share the screen here. And so this is just our demo Academia account we usually use when going through new account setups or any troubleshooting with clients. And so to see those settings, you can go to Administration and Control Panel, and it's going to be Appointments over here on the right. And like most of the other settings, you can either select the college or the different center level. For this, I'm just going to go through some of the college level settings. And right here on the left, we can see the section for restrictions. So I'm just gonna go ahead and jump there. And so, all right, I'm gonna go through the list and kind of explain each of these, and I can kind of see like some of the reasons why you would or maybe wouldn't want to do them. And I can give some examples for that. So to start, we see we have here preventing students from scheduling appointments. So kind of like it says there in the description below, if you have this selected, only the tutors or advisors and administrators would be able to schedule these appointments. And right here, you can see it says tutors slash advisors, but depending on your system, we actually changed the terminology for tutors to say tutors slash advisors. So if you use any different words for that, like instructors, then that's just how it may show up for you instead of tutors and advisors. The next one we have is preventing users from editing, rescheduling, or canceling appointments that start less than a certain amount of minutes ahead. This can usually be good for any advisors or tutors that have a lot of busy schedules and have everything planned and just anything related to that mostly. So there can't be any last minute changes. Next, we have preventing students from canceling and rescheduling appointments, kind of similar to before, just the same thing to avoid those um, last minute conflicts also. But with this specifically, it would just give the tutors and administrators just those privileges. All right, then we have allowing administrators to bypass restrictions. Now, this isn't only going to apply for the main admin for the account, for example. This would just be anyone in academia with the administrator role. So then that way they can just go ahead and bypass that restriction. And then the next one we have here for tutors and advisors, just the same thing where they would be allowed to bypass that for scheduling, editing, and canceling those appointments, just so that way avoiding the students from being able to do that. Next, we have the tutor load balancing and advisors. So this could hide the tutors' names from students when they make appointments. So um, if in your center or college, you know that there is an advisor that students usually pick a lot, and then you have some that maybe don't get selected as often, this would just allow them to be kind of fair game as to who's selected. And the next one, hiding tutor or advisor filter from the new appointment by tutor screen. Just kind of a similar thing there where it would hide their that filter by the appointment for their screen. And next we have the section with comments. So this is where students can see the tutor or advisor comments in appointments for asynchronous sessions. So this would just allow them to be able to see it rather than it just being a note for the tutors themselves. Next, we have some different restrictions for the creation of appointments. So this first one here, where it says no less than blank days, blank hours, and blank minutes ahead. And then there's also going to be no more than a certain amount of days ahead. I know when some students go to make appointments, at the end of them scheduling, it says that they can set up a reoccurrence. And sometimes we get questions saying, oh, how can we avoid that from happening just throughout? So this would be something that you can set up to avoid that, where let's say for no more than blank days ahead, you could have it selected to be 14. So then if they wanted to do like a weekly appointment as a reoccurrence, this would only schedule it twice, for example, because just only 14 days ahead would be 2 weeks. Um, and then this would be For no more than, it only goes to a certain amount of days, but if you want it to be less than, that's where you can have the days, hours, and minutes ahead. This next option here for in future terms, this would just be for, like let's say right now it's the summer term. So if you also had winter and or fall and spring in your academia system already, this would just prevent them or allow them to um, create appointments for those terms. Next, we have if the student does not have one with the does not have an appointment with the selected tutor or advisor in that selected day. So this would just prevent those users from scheduling appointments with those tutors within the same day that they selected. And this next option here, starting every blank minutes from these 2 hours here. So this is when you can kind of customize when you want the appointments to be available and also just the starting time for it. So you can have that be whether if it's morning, it could be on the hour would be if you had it starting every 60 minutes, depending on that duration. Next, we have the option for maximum hours a week that the tutors or advisors can meet, and also the students. Um, I know, like back when I was in college, sometimes tutors would only be allowed maybe like 20 hours a week, for example. So then that way you can select that here, so they aren't scheduled too much more than often. And for the students, you're also able to do that the same. And then this next section here for the maximum number per week, it's pretty much the same concept, except rather than hours, it's just going to be depending on the number of visits. And kind of back to what I was talking about with the no-show visits, this is where you can actually set that restriction. So here we have preventing the creation of appointments with students more than a blank number of times in a certain amount of days. So something that I've seen people do sometimes is maybe no more than 3 times, not in a 90-day period, or you can do less than that just so um, they don't keep on um, kind of like almost screwing over the advisor or tutor by not showing up. And so this next option we have here and canceling the existing appointments, this would, if you have this selected, this would go into effect when that um, no-show period has taken place. So by default, this is off, but if you wanted to have it on, that would just kind of cancel those future appointments. And next we have counting the no-shows for the current term only. So this would just allow it to restart when a new term is beginning. Right, and next we have some restrictions for rescheduling. So this first one would prevent rescheduling more than a certain amount of times. And this next one, back-to-back restriction here, this would prevent the creation of back-to-back appointments with the same or an unspecified course until a certain amount of minutes have passed. So usually, like let's say if a student wanted an appointment with an advisor and they wanted to make it maybe like 2 1-hour blocks, this would allow them to not have that option to create that appointment to be back-to-back. And next we have the more of the specific settings for how long the appointment would be. So you can set the minimum amount here and the maximum time length for it. And you can also set a default length for a certain amount of minutes. So this is where you can say, let's say you offer 15, 30, and 1-hour meetings. You can set the default there to be maybe 30 minutes. So that way when the student goes to create the appointment, they'll only be able to see the 30-minute time slot there unless they select a different time. All right, and next, right here, this text box where we have show valid durations. This is where you can, although you can set the minimum and maximum up above, you can also set the specific times. So kind of like the example shows down here, you can do 15, 30, and 60 minutes. So that way, when they go to schedule the appointment, they can see each of those um, time slots. All right, and next we have counting the visits toward the appointment being signed in. So you can have it selected so they're early by a certain amount of minutes or late by that also. So that way it would just count toward that meeting. And then you can also select if they were to be stayed in for a certain amount of minutes. So right here we just have two. So if they're signed in for at least this long, then it would be counted. But if it's not, then it would be considered as that no-show. All right, we also have the option for a group appointment restriction where the tutor or advisor can assist with different courses if this is selected. All right, and the final section for restrictions here would be allowing the certain amount of days. I know most colleges obviously operate Monday to Friday, so if you just didn't want that to be open on Saturday and Sunday, then you would just keep these two options unchecked here. So that pretty much goes over all of the restrictions, but I did want to show all of you what I was talking about with the avoiding the no-show. So if I go here to the top two, center attendance and appointments and view all, um, as we can see here, I can set that time period. So I'll just go over some from last year just to see these here. And we can see that this one says no show, just as an example. And then we have all these options here toward the right. If I were to select this one right here, we can also see they come up at the top also. And so if I just click void, it's going to come up with this pop-up and then you can put an excuse. So I'm just going to say provided a note as an excuse not to attend. So with this excuse here, just as a note for anyone in the system who might be wondering why this is being voided, you can just click accept once you do that. And now um, that no-show has been voided. So going back to those restrictions, um, that just allows them to have another chance, or if it just to avoid that conflict coming up from not being able to schedule appointments. All right, but that's about it for me. So thank you everyone for your time. Have a good day.
All right, thank you, Justin. Now, before we move on to our general Q&A, does anybody have any questions about this particular topic? And you can put that in the chat, or you could also unmute your mic at this time.
I have a quick question.
Mhm.
How would it look? So Justin showed us how we could make, say, 15, 30-minute, 45-minute appointments. How does that then stack in a tutor's schedule? For example, if someone wants to like schedule appointments and someone schedules, say, a 45-minute, does then that next 15 minutes become available within the hour to a student?
So, yes, it would allow it for that to happen. It would just maybe if anyone else wants to clarify, I believe it would allow that to um separate as long as you don't have any blocks in between.
Okay. Uh, and then it looks like Nick wants you to elaborate on what is significant about leaving them as no-shows versus avoiding them.
So something about the no-show, in terms of the restriction at least, that would count toward them not being able to schedule an appointment in the future. But if they are voided, then they're able to be scheduled. They are able to at least schedule themselves.
Okay. Um, that's actually what I was looking for you to say. But one of the things too I was going to say is a combination of settings can actually accomplish what she was trying to do. So we have like the start time increment, and let's say you wanted the 15 minutes reserved to not be scheduled. You would use like maybe a 60-minute start time increment so that all the appointments have to start on the hour. And then if the appointment's only scheduled for 45 minutes, um, when they schedule them on the hour, you'll have that 15-minute kind of buffer between each one. So using that in combination with like the duration restrictions, those will help.
Okay. Any other questions about this topic? Okay. In that case, I think we can go ahead and open it up. Thank you so much, Justin. In that case, I think we can go ahead and open it up to general academia Q&A if anybody has any questions. I see somebody's already typing. Okay, and Michaela asks, is the pending surveys widget able to be shown on students' academia home screen? I'm only seeing a checkbox under system admin for that particular widget.
Sorry. So yeah, the pending surveys, it always shows up under their name, the menu on the top right where their name is. So you'll always have like a pending surveys there. But if you want it on the home page, it's actually part of the upcoming appointments and messaging section. So if you have that enabled, the pending surveys will show up right next to that as well. Like if they didn't complete any or anything. So.
Okay. And I see another question. Can students view a report or summary of hours on the mobile app because her student athletes need to track their hours?
The Accudemia app's a little new for me, but I think they can do every thing that they can do through the website, through the app. So yeah, they're able to pull like a visit history report.
All right. Thank you, Nick. I see another person typing. Michaela says, to follow up with that, we have appointments and messages checked for all users, but aren't seeing the pending surveys showing up on the home screen. Is that the widget you were referring to?
So I can go ahead and share my screen again one more time from the demo account just to kind of show the area that Nick was talking about. So right here where we have the upcoming appointments and the messages, we also have pending surveys here toward the right. But then it is also up here toward the top as pending surveys.
And I was trying to type this out, but it's probably easier just to say it won't display the pending surveys though if they don't have any to take. So it basically consolidates that area like, down to 2 sections if there's or uses that space, spreads out the 2 sections instead of the 3.
Okay. And then she follows up with that. So pending surveys disappear once there are no surveys.
Correct. Yeah. From the home page. Now, the pending survey menu item, that's always there.